When developing video games, studios face various challenges, such as crafting a clear creative vision, identifying the target audience, and optimizing their products for multiple platforms. Additionally, effective communication within the team is crucial, especially when navigating budget constraints. And of course, there's the competition from other studios. No matter how large the company is, these, among others, are important when creating the product, even more so if they're entering the market for the first time. Originally a 3D animation studio, KeelWorks was eager to move into the video game industry and was inspired by the shoot 'em up genre for its first game. Their title underwent a mobile and VR build with little success, but after securing an Epic MegaGrant and gaining public attention, the team shifted production towards PC and consoles, leading to a publishing agreement with Konami in 2021. Eventually, in August of 2024, KeelWorks released its debut title, Cygni All Guns Blazing, a game with some commendable features, yet it sadly jeopardizes its own quality. To start with the positives, Cygni runs on Unreal Engine 4, but don't let that put you off because its graphical fidelity is incredible, notwithstanding the on-screen carnage, and the punchy sound design, along with a smooth frame rate, further enhance its production value. There is the occasional slowdown within specific levels, but it's still impressive considering what you'd be doing across all 7 stages. As with any shmup, Cygni is about shooting first and asking questions later. But there's more to engagements than just being a bullet hose, because airborne units aren't the only threats, those on the ground are just as determined for your demise. Fortunately, your craft, called the Orca, not only can handle each one with the triggers, but it's also capable of alternating between offensive and defensive energy modes, enhancing either attack power or shield strength. Likewise, gun patterns are switchable during firefights, though to what extent depends on how you set them up. Your ship's attack power also dictates which one is active. Lastly, the Orca can fire missiles, first countering enemy missiles, then air units, and finally ground foes. I like this because, instead of treating them in a fire and forget manner, you are using this resource with a strategic purpose. These elements add a sense of strategy to engagements, and the same is true when managing your craft's energy, something you'll be doing often given how onerous the game is. That said, any shmup requires tight controls to keep pace with the mayhem, and thankfully, Cygni delivers in this area. All these things I pointed out are meritorious, and I won't lie, it doesn't disappoint in producing a high-octane spectacle, which makes it all the more frustrating when its flaws harm that experience. The first problem is there are no checkpoints in any of its 7 missions, each lasting about 15 minutes, meaning you have to restart stages if you perish. Granted, the easy difficulty does offer free lives, but even this mode is flawed because if you die, all energy points obtained are lost, a resource that's not only vital in restoring your ship to optimal condition, but they also act as currency for upgrades. One of the reasons KeelWorks went by this decision was to entice players to do multiple playthroughs, starting on easy and working their way up. Now, I'm not against replay value in general, but here it's a weak justification for omitting a vital feature, since any competent player wouldn't choose the easy option to begin with, especially if it's set on normal by default. Plus, who wants to start a level all over again due to poor game design? But regardless of what difficulty you choose, you're running the risk of either losing progress or energy points. Needless to say, you're damned if you do, and damned if you don't. Regarding the upgrades, they're not particularly special, and some of them are ineffective. The Raylight, for instance, is a slow-firing laser beam designed to deal heavy damage, so it would seem ideal on large vessels such as these crustacean-like ships. The issue is, even if you channel your ship's power for maximum damage, they still take an age to kill, and with other adversaries supporting them, using this weapon becomes pointless. Because Cygni All Guns Blazing has a kill streak multiplier, it's only logical that avoiding enemy hits would be wise, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Even if it were the case, with so many foes, bullets and explosions occurring at once, it's easy to lose sight of enemy attack patterns, making dodging problematic. Specific bosses are just as troublesome, as certain attacks require precise maneuvering, easier said than done when their projectiles come from multiple angles and cross over each other. While I'm not saying evasive tactics are useless, the issues do downplay their importance, as does the scoring system. All in all, these shortcomings dampen its gameplay loop and replayability. Sure, there are the arcade and local co-op modes, but they're still a tough sell given how uneven the experience is. Putting aside the combat, Cygni All Guns Blazing does feature a story, but it's so inconsequential that it's not worth paying attention to. Even the main character, Ava, is a bland protagonist, owing to the lack of character development. Voiceover performances are decent, however the actors didn't have much to work with due to the expository dialogue, and while some shots imply Ava had a father, they have no impact, as the game eventually bookends itself on an anticlimax. Ultimately, Cygni's story won't stick with you upon completion, and its orchestral soundtrack is no different, generic and incongruous, despite the fast-paced gameplay. Being it was from a new studio, and regarding the game's development, Cygni All Guns Blazing did pique my interest. Instead, the final product left me feeling befuddled and satisfied. The combat has merit in some ways, supported by impressive sound design and visuals, yet those qualities are overshadowed by the absence of checkpoints, how most upgrades are uninteresting, and in some cases worthless, engagements becoming so chaotic you lose track of what's happening, and all while featuring a forgettable story. It may be called Cygni All Guns Blazing, but not all shots hit their mark.